Welcome to Subramani. I was reading Wall Street Journal when I saw this news item of Edward Abedisian, okay, Abedisian, a clarinetist, right? A person who plays the clarinet in the orchestra. He became very famous sometime in September, October when he gave away, hold your breath, $125 million in charity. 125 million. 100 million he gave it to Boston Medical University and 25 million to some other miscellaneous. And he was a salaried person. He was playing the clarinet for a Boston orchestra and many others around the world. And he had a modest income. The only thing not really much is known about him. He got married at 57 years of age. He died at the age of 85. But he did not have children. That is the only thing which is known. So there was nobody to perhaps spend, or his lifestyle would have been like that of a typical 85-year-old and not like that of a 50-year-old wanting to go for lunch or dinner or vacations with him. So expenses perhaps were controlled, but most importantly, he created this wealth by having multiple brokerage accounts, because I believe in the US, depending on how many brokerage accounts, your chances of IPO allotment are higher. He invested a lot in technology companies in an IPO, held on to shares like Microsoft for a long period of time. When he was asked in an interview, he said, I don't do in and out. I'm largely a buy and hold guy. And he has used leverage many times, right? So he himself says, if I repeat the strategies which I did now, maybe I'll lose my shirt, pant, and he actually says shirt, pant, shoe, socks, right? So why am I talking about him here? It's very simple. There is only one measure of success in the equity markets. Did you make money or did you not? What strategy you used? I mean, today this strategy will be turned out to be like, wow, what brilliant strategy. No, not true. Very few people can borrow with tremendous amount of discipline. I mean, two people we know. One is Mukesh Ambani. Second, personally, it used to be Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who had tremendous amount of personal discipline while he borrowed. I don't have the guts to borrow, right? So whether it is for an office or a car, I never borrowed, or a house I got as a gift rather than anything else. Yes, a lot of past equity savings helped me buy whatever assets I wanted rather than borrow. Now, but for this for Mr. Edward, he passed away in December. Leverage worked, right? So if leverage works for you, leverage is good. If leverage doesn't work for you, it's not good. How will you know before whether what impact would leverage have had on my portfolio if I had borrowed? I have no clue, right? Very, very difficult to create such scenarios and say I would have borrowed this much money and when the market was going down, I would have sold. I don't know whether I would have sold. I do not know how I would have reacted. Unfortunately or fortunately, in equity markets, in perhaps other markets also, but I can talk about equity markets, there is no one path of doing things. There is only one path of avoiding polio or smallpox. You go and take a vaccination. There is no one path in religion. There is no one path in health. There is no one path in wealth. There is no one path in diet. There is no one path in golf. There is no one path in chess. So these are the professions or disciplines about which a lot of things get written, simply because there is no one single way of doing it. That's the reason why I'm talking about him. But of course, very simple person. Obviously, he has earned well. He has invested well, he has got lucky with his leverage, or he has had the discipline with his leverage, however you look at it, and he has created wealth, and he has thought that they should go for charity. Again, he is saying good things about his parents, saying his parents have caused this habit of saying even when they didn't have much, they kept on giving, and these donations he has given in his brother's name and sister's name, right? His sister was a nurse and brother was a pharmacist, so he has made donations in their names, and I think they're still surviving. So this is how you do. This is what you do. You earn money, you spend money, you pay taxes, and you invest, right? Now, a lot of people could say, oh, he could have led a better life. Please understand, money is something very personal. Mr. Mukesh Ambani does business, accumulates money, and decides to spend X amount on his daughter's wedding. Virat Kohli and an Anushka Sharma earn money, pay taxes. With the balance that is left, they spend, I mean, with the money that is earned and after taxes, the money that is there, they use that for their marriage. Same thing for Deepika, Ranveer, everybody. I mean, these are not people who have come from very poor families. But no way how their parents could have spent 20-30 crores on their wedding, right? But it's their choice. So this man's choice, Edward, was to earn money, pay taxes, invest it, and use that money for giving for charity. Right, each person makes his own choice. It's very important for us as financial people to understand that people want advice from us, which is finance. To say, okay, I got so much money, should I use it to buy a car, should I go for a trip to US, or should I buy a house with another bedroom? Right, you don't have to say do this. You have to say A will get done, B will get done, C will get done. For doing C, you may have to borrow. For doing B, you can borrow. For doing A, you don't have to borrow, right? So you give them the options. You say, this is what is the return that you will get. This is what you can borrow. This is what is called disciplined borrowing. Whether you should borrow or not borrow, it is completely up to the person to whom you are giving that advice. So it's very important that when you see a news item like Edward Evedissian gave away 125 million, don't come on the comment box and say, oh, he could have lived a better life, he could have flown a private jet, he could have done many other things, right? But he chose this. So understand, as finance professionals, don't get into what the client should do. You are only here to give options. You are proof that Excel works. If a person has 5 lakhs per month as expenses, he is going to need 18 crores for retirement. If a person has 50,000 for as monthly expenses, he is going to require 1.8 crore for retirement. What have you done? You have just proven to the person who is talking to you that Excel works. That's all. The formula doesn't change. Nothing changes. So similarly, for whatever reason, this is what Edward did. And he must have been happy doing this, right? So don't get judgmental. Just say, okay, this is how wealth can be built. This is one more way people can leverage, people can make money. The question to ask is whether you are happy doing what you are doing. So what they found when Edward's house was, Edward has died, his wife is still alive. They found some books. So let me read out those books. On his bookshelf at home, there were books like 24 Essential Lessons for Investment Success. I have not read it. It is William O'Neill. The Warren Buffett Way by Robert Hagstrom, I've read it, and Take on the Street by Arthur Levitt, again a good book. So 3 recommended books. Again, I'm not saying reading these books will help you create 125 million, but these are the steps, some of the steps which he has taken. And he has said that my parents inspired me to do this. They were always doing something for somebody, so that was the reason, and that's the lifestyle that he chose. So let me repeat, as financial advisors, we can just tell people what are the options which are available, and after that it is up to the people to make the choice. You are not a personal life advisor, whatever your card says. You are a financial advisor. So when somebody comes and asks you for options, you say these are the options, this is what somebody can do, this is what somebody has done, this has worked for Edward, it may not work for you, right? So these stories help you create those options and say this is what one can do. What a client ultimately does or what a friend ultimately does, it up to them. You are a financial advisor, you are not a life advisor. Of course, somebody will call themselves life advisor, life coach, etc. But then you may not be very competent to give advice on health and diet and things like that. So life is not just about money. So largely, if you know finance, if you know goal setting, if you know how all those things are to be done, you are a financial advisor. Stop fooling yourself into believing that you are a personal life advisor. We're not qualified to be that. That is a completely different qualification, I guess. Thank you. So 0.8% was the yield for the bond that you bought, which is not too bad. But inflation at 8% meant the government's new bonds were now being issued at 4%, because perhaps people think their long-term inflation rate in US is no longer 0, it is 4%. Maybe not 8.2 won't sustain, so maybe 4 or 5%. So what happens to the value of the bond that you bought where you're getting 0.8%? A new bond is giving me 5 times that return. So obviously that bond will take a hit. because for a very long period it is going to give you 0.8. Let us say you have a 30-year bond that's going to be just clobbered by the market, right? It will fall by the whole duration, 30-year duration, and look at this gap, 0.8 and 4, so about 3. So you're talking of a 25% fall in the price, right? So that is what would have happened to your bond portfolio. Nobody thinks bond portfolios fluctuate that much. You don't think the standard deviation in the bond fund will be very high, but here it is, your principal is wiped out. Yes, you will get 0.8%. yes, you will get your full money on maturity, but right now the price of this bond has to be something like 75 rupees for a 100 rupee bond, or maybe even lesser. So is it disaster? No, it's not disaster. It is disaster for the person who has already put in the money, but for somebody who has not put in the money, it may be not too bad a time to be buying US securities, which could be both debt and equity, right? So difficult situation, but yes, this has happened, and very likely that somebody will say such a thing has not happened since 1931. That is what the data says. Since 1931 you have never got a return of minus 20% in a year in a 60-40 portfolio. Well, there's always a first time. Thank you.